During the campaign rally, President Trump had a warning for North Korea should it test a hydrogen bomb in the Pacific Ocean.
Maybe something gets worked out, and maybe it doesn't. But I can tell you one thing, you are protected, okay? You are protected. Nobody's going to mess with our people.
The president referred to North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un as Little Rocket Man, which drew cheers from the audience. Joining us with more on this is Sahil Kapur, national political reporter for Bloomberg News. Good morning, Sahil.
Good morning.
With all of this tough talk, is there a diplomatic way out of the North Korea situation?
Well, it depends on what you define as a way out, right?
Yeah.
Previous presidents have dealt with the nuclear North Korea, and if the end game is containment, preventing the Kim regime from using nuclear weapons against his neighbor to the south or against other U.S. allies, then yes, it's doable. President Obama did it. George W. Bush did it. But this regime, this country is already the most isolated in the world. They've been hit with lots and lots of economic sanctions, and it's unclear that they are going to give up their nuclear weapons. It's highly unlikely, in fact, because that is the one piece of ammunition they have to survive and to defend themselves.
We heard President Trump obviously addressing North Korea when he was talking with the UN General Assembly this week, his first address to them. How did his America First agenda play?
A couple of things. I mean, I think the president did hit on what a lot of Americans feel in their gut, that the United States is overextended in the world, that it's doing too much, that it's looking after too many other countries when it should be looking after itself. I think, you know, he played into that very well, but there were some contradictions in what he said, and what there wasn't, I think, was a clear path forward, a clear strategy. So, for instance, he talked about not taking in refugees into the United States and instead resettling them in their home countries, but his budget cuts foreign aid pretty substantially, which the government only spends which is only about 1% of what the government already spends. He talked about pulling back from the world, but he's doubling down on the Afghanistan strategy. He's making threats to Assad in Syria. So where the trade-offs are, where the policy is going forward, still a lot of questions.
Right. Let's talk about health care, Sahil. As Paula Reed mentioned, John McCain is a no, which means the Republicans can't afford to lose one more vote. And Susan Collins of Maine is on the edge here of voting no. You've talked to her several times this week. Can they get her to yes, do you think?
It looks increasingly unlikely by the day. She has said she's concerned about this bill. Her latest is she said she's leaning against it. She has expressed concern specifically with one aspect of the bill regarding pre-existing conditions. What the bill allows states to do is to get a waiver that says insurers cannot turn people away, but they can charge sick people more, people with pre-existing conditions more. This was one of the core features of Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act, and it's one of the reasons they had all these other unpopular provisions to help balance that out. So she's concerned with, you know, with that, among other things. I think the Medicaid aspect of it, this bill would cut federal funding, especially Medicaid, and her state is one that benefits from that a lot. So she's looking like a very likely no at this point.
We know the Trump administration needs a policy win. Would the president be better served going with a bipartisan route at this point on health care?
There are certainly Republicans who think that. There was Lamar Alexander, the chairman of the Health Committee in the Senate, who had been negotiating with Patty Murray, his Democratic counterpart, and I think the resurfacing of the ACA repeal effort scuttled that negotiation. It remains to be seen if that'll come up again. But yes, to your point, this issue threatens to become an albatross around the neck of the Republican Party if they can't either succeed at a repeal bill or find a way to move on and make peace with it.
So you think it's, I mean, but can these guys actually talk to each other?
At this point, the politics are still pretty lethal in the party, so I think something's going to have to happen before.
Even within their own party as well.
Sahil Kapur, thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.